Hey guys,
I'm Hallee,
and I'm Jamie.
and this is Literal Nonsense.
Hello!
And we're back.
I felt like you yelled last time, so I had to yell this time. So we're changing up this week. We're doing a self-help book because the last 3 books were just like we had fucking a thriller and he's locking her in a closet. Then we have babies dying. Then we had rape. I mean, I think we need help. I think I need a happy book.
Yeah, I totally forgot we did Ugly Love. I was like, what is she
There's
talking
a
about?
there's a lot going on, and honestly, you're lucky we're not covering the Bible because like I needed help. I need Jesus. I'm Wiccan, Like I just felt like it was a lot. It was a lot. Um and even like I said, Ugly Love, great. Colleen Hoover, romance, sappy, corny. Oh, romantic, but like babies did die. So I felt like I needed to like almost like sage the podcast. So with that being said, today we're covering again a self-help book, and we're covering The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Amazing. It's a cutesy little book. Honestly, this is my second time reading it. I highly recommend. If you're just like looking for a quick book in 2 hours to like try to make yourself a better person, can't
This
beat
is
it.
the one for you. Not gonna lie, I was kind of hoping that you were gonna say his name with like an accent. That would have been sick. Don Miguel Ruiz.
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm glad I left it to you, to be
That was
honest.
terrible. Please, that was so
I think it was
embarrassing.
great.
Please clip that out.
Never.
Fuck.
Sorry. So this guy, our boy Don Miguel, he's a Toltec Nagual. Very nice. And so basically, he states, I'll explain. Well, a Nagual or a Toltec. Okay, hold on. Time the fuck out.
Yeah.
Whoa. I'm leaving this all in, but I need a timeout for my brain. So basically, the Toltecs, they're scientists and artists who formed a society to explore and conserve spiritual knowledge. So I trust this man. He told me this. I was like, I fully put my life in your hands, sir. Make me a better person.
Mm-hmm.
So he is a guy, he's a teacher of these ideals and all these things.
Yeah,
Spiritual knowledge.
Don is just a spiritual guy, you know?
And honestly, his little picture in the back of the book, adorable. I trust
Oh,
him
I don't
fully.
think I have that.
Look him up. He's so cute.
Oh, there he is.
Right? I trust him.
Yeah, he's cool. There's actually a podcast I listen to. It's called the Highest Self Podcast by Sahara Rose, and
Okay.
she had him as a guest speaker.
Wow, Don Miguel, come on our podcast.
Yeah,
That'd be fun. I would be pumped.
I can't wait. We need to like have some fucking
Yes.
guests. Yeah, that'd be fun.
Well, if you hear this, our boy Don Miguel, come talk to us.
Hit us up.
Because I love your book. So, great. This is probably the first book we're covering that we actually like. but whatever. So basically, he is telling us that if you just follow these 4 simple agreements and, incorporate them into your life, you will feel happier and you will turn your life around. So we'll kind of get into that. But first, we'll introduce why he even thinks this is a thing, and we'll kind of go into it. And we will talk about our thoughts on it and kind of just have like a little deep chit chat.
Mm-hmm.
Little philosophy and life goal chat, me and Hal Gal.
Yeah, I feel like with all these types of books, like you can't take it as like how like y equals mc squared, right? Like you have to leave room
Mm-hmm.
for the magic. Like that's how I approach these like
Oh, okay,
spiritual
girl.
self-help books. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like you can't like really cling on and like have the logic part of your brain like kind of like try to pick it apart. You kind of just have to like let it wash over you. Let it settle a little bit,
Wow.
you know?
I love that. Well, tell us about the introduction and why is this going to work for us?
Yeah. Okay. So it's called The Smoky Mirror. That's like the intro. And essentially he's like, we're all dreaming right now. This is a dream. Your life is a dream. Everyone's life is a dream, even though we're waking, right? And our obviously our own ideas of perception and our thoughts and ideas all create the dream, which is our reality. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, going into that, it's very similar to like that aspect of like you are God, like we are the reincarnation of God. You know, we were created in God's image. Like that I feel like that's a very common theme. Whether you believe
Mm-hmm.
God is like a mystical man in the sky or like
A force or
just like
like,
an energy, like whatever
right.
your fucking thing is. Um
It applies.
yeah. So us being humans, I guess, just like sentient beings, you know, we are everything. And at our core is love and light, essentially, right?
Which I'm into
But
that.
yeah, but like the reason why we don't realize this or recognize this and follow our lives through with this is because we don't have that awareness to see it within ourselves because we get caught up in the reality of the dream. So this like in between state is called the smoky mirror, you know? And the smoke, which I guess you can kind of sum up as like, you know, all of your limiting beliefs kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
are what keep us from, you know, true happiness and who we really are, which is light and love kind of thing.
Which I think is so interesting too, because like, yeah, he's saying like this smoke is like the dream that we're all told, or like our beliefs. And I'm like, isn't that crazy that it's like called a dream, but it's like it's a shitty fucking, it's just shitty basically. Like we do this to ourselves essentially.
Mhm.
Um, and so he's saying like the dream of the planet, like the dream overall, is made up of smaller personal dreams, but it's essentially like just the inherent things. Like you're supposed to be successful, you're supposed to make a lot of money, you're
Mhm.
supposed to have a family, like you're supposed to want to be better than other people, like all
Mhm.
these things. And when you really think about it, and he's saying too, like those are shitty beliefs.
Mhm.
Why we can literally, and here's where it gets like kind of like hippy dippy, but like I agree and like I'm into this. Like I have talks like this with Chelsea and Amelia and Ryan all the time. We can literally as people believe, do whatever we want. And so why are we choosing things that make us unhappy? Like,
Mhm.
that's a really wild thing when you really think about it. Like why
Yeah.
the fuck are we doing this?
Mhm.
Um, and so basically, he's saying when we were younger, we learned the dream of the world from our parents, who learned it from their parents, and so on, and yada yada. And so we learn about this. We learn to do well, to do better than others. Um,
Mhm. There's
you know,
like a risk versus reward kind of thing. You know, like you're
right,
going to do things to avoid the risk, which is like inherently fear. And you're going to strive towards the thing that's going to give you a reward, be it, you know, affection or a nice car or things like that. You know what I mean?
right. And so we learn all these beliefs and these ideas, and we just agree with them because we're young and we're like, okay, that's how the
Hmm.
world works. Great.
Yeah.
Now he's saying, you do this as a kid because you don't know any better. You're being told it. You're like, okay, that makes sense. Now, this like creates mind fog or the smoky mirror, and he calls it mitote. I did that right. And so basically, it just creates like this mind fog, which makes you unhappy. And it's like he's explaining that you need to really work hard to rewrite these agreements in your head, because if you have a belief, it means that you agreed to that belief. So it's
Hmm.
an agreement. And so you learned the belief of being better than others, or whatever that particular one is, and you had to agree to it. And so we have to break out of these beliefs, this dream that we're being told to believe in,
Hmm.
because it's making us all unhappy. So why would we want to be unhappy? But because it's been, told to us our whole lives and like reinforced, it's really hard to break out of.
Hmm.
But that's where the four agreements will then come in.
It kind of
Which,
reminds me of like how they say like saying the aspect of like reparenting your parents, right?
right, right,
So
right.
it's, you know, and it's
Same
like,
vibe.
or the same thing of like you have to, you know, dismantle your limiting beliefs so you can step into your true power. Because how he says like, you know, most of these agreements we made when we were younger, but we didn't know any better, you know,
Right.
because you're a child and you're just like la 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 la. So it's like now that, you know, if you're old, when you're older and you have, you know, been able to conceptualize life and what it means to be alive and who you are as a person, you know, if I believe, bless you,
Thank you.
Jesus, like
Sorry.
if I was told when I was little that the sky is blue,
Hmm.
you know, and so I'm just going around in life, the sky's blue, the sky's blue. And then I wake up one day and I'm looking at the sky, I'm like, is the sky really blue? you
Right.
know, and that's very
And it's
challenging because
and
it's
that's
going
literally what it
against
is.
everything you've known. Yeah.
It's like your inherent. That's what he's saying, and that's a perfect example because it's like the inherent truths that you've been told. He's like, yeah, they're not great. Which I reading it can understand. Like, yeah, they're not great, but that is like a hard pill to swallow. Like, and it's like biases and things and beliefs that you have that you don't even know you have.
Well, a lot of it also is like, social constructs as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, most of it, yeah.
You know, how much longer are, never mind, I'm not gonna go I'm not gonna go down that road.
Jesus. Well, I'm scared. Okay.
I was just gonna say, like, like that whole thing of like the man is the breadwinner. Obviously, like now it's different, but like say back in the
Right.
1980s, like the man is the breadwinner and the woman stays home with the kids. Like
Mhm.
really, that's not really like a thing anymore. Even though
Right,
some
and that
people
was hard to
cling,
break too.
yeah, but some people still cling very hard to that belief
Right.
for whatever
Yeah.
reason.
Well, if you talk to even like ideas, like that's a good point. Like whether it's gender roles, gender identity,
Hmm.
anything, sexual orientation, sexual identity. If you talk to an older generation, it's hard for them because they've gone, if you think about it, older people have been alive longer. So they've had
Boomers,
these, right.
those fucking boomers.
So they've had these beliefs, their beliefs, longer. So it
Hmm.
makes sense that it's harder for them to break out of those beliefs.
Well, yeah, their whole
Us,
identity is shaped around those things.
right, which, we hate on them a little bit for not being able to accept it, but like if you really think about it, it makes sense that it's hard for them to accept.
Hmm.
Their identity is tied to their beliefs, and again, they've been alive longer, so therefore they've believed this truth longer, and all of a sudden someone's like, the sky is orange, and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Hmm.
Like, it literally is like that inherent truth for them. And so apparently these 4 agreements will be difficult, but they will help us live happier lives. So I'm
Yeah.
like all for them.
And his theory is that, like, these are hard things to do. So like
Hmm.
don't beat yourself up if you can't do it. If you go 2 days doing it and then the third day you stumble, he said, don't worry, just pick yourself up, dust
He's
yourself
an
off, and
understanding
keep on
man.
going.
Don Miguel loves us.
I think it's
So
really funny how he was like, if I could do it, you could do it. And I'm like, okay.
he was like, I'm no better than you. And I was like, love a humble king.
Yeah.
And so what's our first agreement, Hal Gal?
All
Tell me how to
right.
change my life.
All right. So the first agreement is to be impeccable with your word. So I feel like this is like a known thing that like your words carry power, right? And
Hmm.
like, the things you say um reverberate in time and space. That's how we have the law of manifestation and all that kind of stuff. So,
Hmm.
your words hold power. And
I'm a big manifester.
yeah, and what you kind of have to do is you have to open your mind to hear the positive words. Tell yourself the positive words. If you're always badgering yourself or talking poorly, you have that negative self-talk. Well, guess what? You're going to be a really fucking negative person. You're going to feel
Hmm.
like shit all the time.
Yeah.
So, it's like when people put I love myself on the sticky note on their mirror every morning. It's like it's like they see it. It's like a reminder. You need
Yeah, it works.
the positive affirmations. So when he essentially says that, like, when you are impeccable, you won't go against yourself. Um and then you can take accountability, but you don't also blame yourself. It's kind of just like,
Right.
I am
Like,
here, I am doing this, and okay, this happened. All right, whatever, keep it
yeah,
moving
like you
kind of
can
thing.
make a mistake and be like, I made a mistake, but you don't be like, I made a mistake because I'm a dumb piece of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you can be like, okay, like I'm a human.
Hmm. Yeah, so
Um,
I feel like this one is a lot of like a self-love. Like, I feel
hmm.
like this should have been just like self-love kind of thing.
But I
um
also wonder too, like being accountable, right? Because I think, or not accountable, sorry, being impeccable with your word. I also feel like for me, like it also comes down, agreed with self love, but it comes down to like, when you're not confident in yourself or you have like insecurities, you almost like say things and try to be like smarter or braver. It's okay to sometimes be like, I don't know the answer to that.
hmm
And that's being impeccable and being honest.
yeah.
And I think, like, again, it kind of is just talking about your deep rooted things. Like, I may not think I'm a, I don't know, good dancer, So being like, oh yeah, I'm not a good dancer, and just being like, that's who I am. I love myself regardless. And I can honestly say that without being like guilty about it or like
Mm-hmm.
self conscious. I think that ties into it too. Like you can also admit your shortcomings and be like,
Mm-hmm.
everyone has shortcomings. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make me shitty.
Well, that's like also like the other undertone is just like who fucking cares?
Yeah, who fucking cares?
You know, like if you want to dance, then dance.
Right.
Get up
Yeah,
here. Let's
it's also
dance.
ew. Um,
Don't you know that
no.
meme? What?
I like didn't have any like I barely use TikTok. I barely use anything. So like I'm not good with like pop memes.
Okay, side note real quick. It was like an interview and that actress with like the red hair and she's kind of got bucky teeth. Like she's winning an award or something. And like I think she was thanking someone and she's like, "Come up here. Let's dance." Like and then that like little went on to TikTok
Right.
and like they put like a beat behind it. So now it's like
Oh,
yeah.
remix.
It's
Well,
pretty
yeah.
good. I
I
enjoy
can't
it.
dance, but you got to dance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like side note as well, just talking about that particular one in the example I used of like, yeah, like be impeccable with your word. Like fucking if you're not good at something, whatever, own it. You know, own your shit. I feel like that's what this is kind of saying too. Like love yourself and own your shit. Like doesn't matter, you know?
Well, yeah, I
Side
think
note,
also okay, side
you
note
go
first.
first.
I was just going to say like the point that you said before like you know like I'm a bad dancer but I'm going to love myself anyways. There's also like the flip side of that where it's like if dancing is like your insecurity and you know you're a bad dancer, like you verbally, try to make a joke, like that self-deprecation, like in front
Right.
of other people. So it's like you beat them to the punch. Like it's
Right.
easier to hurt yourself than it is to hear it from other people, kind of thing.
Right. And so it's like, but yeah, like that's being mean. Like that's not being impeccable with your word. Like you're
Yeah.
being mean to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and so like, I was my side note actually that tied in well. So I am a really bad dancer. I'm very self conscious about it. I don't like it. I get very insecure because when I was younger, people like told me I was a bad dancer, and so like, I like really harbored that. And this was like a conversation leading up to the wedding. I was like, Ryan, I'm really like nervous. Like I don't want to dance. Like, everyone's gonna want me to dance, and like I don't like dancing. I'm very upset by it. I don't know what to do. And he was like, just like, who cares? Like, you're gonna have a good time. Like, just like do whatever you want. Like, it's your wedding. And I literally was like, it's like the worst time to be a bride because like everyone's like watching you dance or like recording you dance. And I was like, I'm gonna fucking be miserable. But then he literally was like, basically like, yeah, just have a night. Like, who cares? Who cares?
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay. And I danced. So maybe I broke a belief I had. I don't know.
She will dance again.
I'm not rushing to dance again, but I'm sure in my life, yeah.
She will dance again.
And so that kind of like brings us also to the next point because it's like this first agreement is saying speak highly of yourself. And if you don't think hurtful things about yourself, like say for example, I'm like I dance how I dance and that's just me. If someone says I'm a bad dancer, then it won't hurt me because I don't give a fuck,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And so that brings us to our second agreement, which is don't take things personally. I suck at this.
I
Like,
take everything personally.
oh my God. And I'm married to an extremely sarcastic person. And oft our fights are usually because I'm like, he'll just fuck around. And he's
Yeah.
like, I like obviously love you and married to you. And I'm like, well then why don't maybe he should be impeccable with his word more.
Mm.
But at the same time, it's like, you can have like lighthearted fun,
Yeah.
right? Now, the point of that is that's one aspect of it. But really what this agreement is saying is even if people are saying bad things about you, not in a joking manner, but like a real manner, right? It's really a reflection of them and not you. So if they're like, you're looking fat today, they probably are having some body issues and they're trying to make themselves feel better.
You're projecting.
Right. Like they, or whatever it is, or, oh, you're being annoying. Like, why are you trying to bring someone else down is really what this comes down to. If you're being a dick, you probably have something going on.
Yeah.
Now, also, our boy Don Miguel, right, is basically saying if, again, you're impeccable with your word and you treat yourself kindly, people saying mean things, you'll be like, that's your opinion. Like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, opinion is not truth. And so he's also saying, too, if you love yourself, you're going to inherently be kind to other people, right? Because, again, we say mean things if we're feeling bad about ourselves. So if you love yourself through and through, you feel good about yourself, You're going to say nice things to people because you feel good. Again, what people say to you is a reflection of them, not you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you feel good, you'll say good things, and then it's going to just be like this constant spiral of like good vibes, which is true. I've like seen it happen in my life. Like, it's true. When you feel good, there's good energy all around you because you're just like harboring that energy and you like attract it.
Yeah.
And so again, if you are confident in yourself and talk impeccably, yeah, I feel that word just made no sense in my head. I don't know why. Talk impeccably to yourself, then you also in turn won't take things personally because again, you just love yourself and have wholly accepted your flaws, your successes, all of that stuff. And again, even if you got flaws, you're not hung up at them. You're like, okay, great.
Yeah.
And so by doing that, you also just in turn like won't take things personally. And I feel like those two like go together. Um and again, I suck at taking things personally. And like at one point of this chapter, I felt so fucking exposed because he was like, taking things personally is so fucking selfish. He didn't say fucking, but he was like, not everything's about you. And I was like, damn. I was like, Don Miguel is telling me how it is. Cause I really do. I think like it's all personal.
Mm-hmm.
And I get, and I know like reading this book, it sounds maybe silly. Like it's like a quick 140-page book, guys. Honestly, highly recommend, like I just said. But reading even the first two chapters, I was like, damn. Because a conversation I have with Ryan is like, you get so defensive. Like he says that to me. And I'm realizing after reading this is I take things personally and get defensive because I have confidence issues.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm maybe not nice to myself, whatever the case is, I haven't been impeccable with myself or accepted myself. And therefore I do take things personally and that's why I get defensive. And he's like, why? Like, why? Like no one meant it that way. And it's
Mm-hmm.
things like that people don't even mean a certain way. But I think these two for me are like ones that I really want to work on because again, it's like were we hanging out with a group of people and like I feel like someone was attacking me personally and it like ruins my mood. And the more I read these two chapters, I'm like, damn, I'm ruining my own mood.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one meant it that way. If I didn't take it personally, I would have a great night.
Yeah.
I'm putting the bad energy and emotion out there.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm just more confident, if I talk to myself highly and I don't take things personally, honestly, that would change like a lot of my mood. Like I'm being completely honest when I say that like that is a hindrance in my life that's like pretty common at this point. And I
Damn.
was like, damn. Yeah, like I was like really fucking self-reflecting reading this. I was like,
Yeah,
holy fuck.
you're like really fucking being vulnerable right now. Wow. This is a safe space. Thank you.
Right,
Thank
right,
you for
thanks.
sharing.
And it's funny because last night I was like, oh, I'm reading this book. Do you want to hear the four agreements? And like at first I was like, be impeccable with your word, and he was like, and I was like, ooh, and I was like, I don't even want to read you the next one because I like he always is like, don't take things so personally.
I
And
think
he
the
was
third
like,
one though ties also with these
it
as
does.
well.
But then I said the second one, and he was like, what? And he was like, they wrote this book for you. I was like, literally. Because it is. It's like, it's, yeah. And honestly, the reason why I think I'm also being vulnerable and like saying it is, again, this book is like kind of like, I feel like our human shortcomings as people. And so I'm assuming other people also have this issue. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like this is a good book because it is. It's written very simply. I also, with self-help books, sometimes have the issue that it's like they're written very like abstract and I can't get my head around it. This is like written very simple language. I understand it. It helps me reflect and like really understand what he's saying.
Yeah.
And I can like genuinely improve my life. Whereas some books, I'm like, I don't, what? I'm like, I can't rewire my whole fucking brain, ma'am.
Well, he keeps it
Like,
stupid simple, right?
right, which, perfect. For a self help book, keep it fucking stupid simple. So, first two agreements, big fan of. But again, like you mentioned, the third one is for sure tied in as well.
Yeah. I think I also struggle with this one is I do a lot of assuming. I do. Because I don't know what it is, but I just think everyone thinks like me, but that's not the case
So, the third one is
at
don't make
all.
assumptions.
Yeah, don't make assumptions.
Hallie, don't assume they know what the third agreement was.
I literally remember, like, I don't know, I was like maybe in 6th or 7th grade, and my teacher was like, you can't make assumptions. And I was like, why? And she was like,
Why?
she was like, because you make an ass out of you and me. And I was like, did my teacher just curse at me? And of
Yes,
course, that was like
she
one of
did.
those like very pivotal moments in my life.
I'm also dead that
So
that was like a thing that was pointed out to you. Like, you must have been doing it a lot then.
Probably. I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe. Probably.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So, but again, it's kind of one of those things where like we probably do. Yeah, I feel like people all think the way we do. It's like one of those moments. I feel like the only moments I've really thought about like different people and different lives is like when you're driving in the car on the highway and everyone's in traffic and you're like what are we all like? What about their life? Like what are they doing? Like and you're
Mm-hmm.
like everyone has their own reality. But
Yes.
on a day-to-day basis, you are like, oh yeah, people just think the way I think.
I think when I'm stuck in traffic, my first thought is, what fucking asshole doesn't know how to merge? That's my first
Okay,
thought.
thought numero
Um,
uno.
but I do frequently wonder, like, even if I'm like out and I like see just like random people, I'm like, where'd you come from? Like, what
They're
is
all
your
like the main
story?
characters. Yeah.
I know, but like you're also the main character concurrently, so it's like
Oh,
very trippy kind of if you get too far deep into it.
yeah, no, it's one of those mind fuck situations. My first thought on traffic is something better be on fire. Like I want to have like a reason. That's a fucked up thought, but I just wanted to say that.
I hate with a burning passion when there's traffic because some fucking asshole is in the fast lane doing the speed limit. No, it's called the fast lane to go fast, to pass your ass, and I can't do that because you're going as slow as the person in the next lane. So now I'm stuck. I hate that. I hate when there's traffic because somebody is pulled over and everyone wants to stop and stare. Why do you fucking care? Be glad it's not you. Keep it pushing, bro. Like I just don't get it.
Yeah,
Or when you have those people who are like gunning the gas and then they fucking break. And they're gunning the gas and they break. I'm like, can you go away? Who
but
gave you
isn't
a
it
license?
interesting because it's like okay, I don't know if this is like I'm gonna try to tie it together just for like my own like because maybe it ties together. It might not. I might be like reaching, but it's like isn't that interesting? Because I feel like a lot of our anger comes from making assumptions too. Like
Oh yeah, for sure.
yeah, like I think a lot of our anger does come from assumptions because even your example about like, oh, people are looking at the accident. Okay, most of them probably are realistically just looking because they're nosy. What if someone's like, that's my sister's car? Is it them? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like we make assumptions a lot
That's
inherently.
so dramatic.
But why not? Like, okay, not like it is your sister's car. Your sister might fucking drive a Hyundai that everyone has. You know what I'm saying? Like,
No.
I'm just saying.
I don't know. I just hate it. Like if you I don't know. My gripe with fucking drivers is just
Well,
whatever.
yeah, you're definitely an anger driver, I can for sure. I'm an anger driver, but
I'm an angry
so
driver,
what is your issue with assumptions? Like, do you feel like this affects your life typically?
yeah. I think okay, so my biggest issue with assumptions is like my thing is like I will never ask for help. Like I
Mm.
I will be drowning and I have no way to do everything that I need to get done and I will never ask for help because I don't know if it's a pride thing or if it's just the way that like I was brought up. Like I don't know. So it literally causes me pain to ask for help, so I just never do it. And um I think along with that, I assume that like my problems are just mine to deal with. Like other people like have their own things to worry about. They don't need to worry about it anyways. So like why take time out of your day to help me? But like I'm always the first one to be like, "Oh, if you need help, you need anything, let me know." You know? So then I like pile more stuff onto my plate to try to help other people, but then like I struggle with my own shit. So
Hmm.
it's like I don't know, like I just assume that I, maybe my needs don't need to be met first or like
Well,
you know
and
what I
like
mean?
going off that, do you also like do you assume people just know what you need?
That is another problem that I do have.
Interesting. So it's like a big so assumptions are like a big overarching theme for you.
Yeah, because I think also too, like I get frustrated when someone isn't giving me what I need, but I don't know
Mhm.
how to verbalize it to them.
Oh, interesting. Because one of the things he literally said was like, we make assumptions because we don't have the courage to communicate and ask
Yes.
questions. So like that's like
Yes.
that hits the nail on the head for you.
Yeah. I mean, like I'm not afraid to ask
Mm.
questions, but like I don't
To
know,
say
like
what you need.
yeah, like it's just I don't maybe it's like I don't I think it honestly I think it like comes down to a pride thing probably for sure.
Wow.
Um but like you know, when he's like, oh, we tend to make assumptions about everything, you know, and we see and hear what we want to, because usually, you know, that reinforces the assumption that you already have in your head.
Yeah, like it's like literally you're like solidifying your bias basically.
Exactly. So it's like, you know, if one thing is going wrong in my day, I'm going to assume that everything else in my day is going to go wrong. And then guess what? I get in a negative headspace and then everything goes wrong the rest
Right,
of the
because you're
day.
literally just seeing the negative things. Right.
Yeah. Um,
Which, yeah, I didn't even think of it that way because, like, yeah, you literally are assuming that things will go wrong, and so they do. And that's like a really powerful thought.
yeah. And then, like, I just assume that the reason why bad things are happening is because, like, I did something bad, but I wasn't aware of it at the time. You know what I mean? Like, kind
Yeah,
of
like in
almost,
hindsight, you're like, oh, it must have been my fault.
yeah, you know, like, and it's like, I don't know if it's a victim mentality. That's really bad. I don't want to say that I have one, but I think sometimes I do have one. Like,
You're like, I don't want to say it, but I'm starting to think so.
I kind of think, you know, and like even
But
today,
don't
like,
we all? Like, because
yeah,
you don't want to admit you're wrong, so it's so much easier to be the victim.
I guess.
Like, even like his thing with like being impeccable with your word, he was like, if you just say I'm so stupid, you'll just start seeing things you were stupid with all the time. Like, it's
Yeah.
easier instead of just being like, and I don't know why that's easier because it's like you would think the easy thing would be like, yeah, I made a mistake and that's okay and like I'm not perfect. Why would that not be easier? It's easier to put yourself fucking down. Like I don't get why, but we all do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Really, you
Are we
know,
good?
I don't know. I think the older I get, the more I think that like I'm the problem. Maybe I'm the problem. Hi, it's me. I'm the problem. It's me. Maybe Taylor had something
Wow.
right with that one. I don't know. But then I'm like, no, it can't be me. It's everyone else, obviously, you know? So then it's like
It like
becomes,
flip flops.
yeah, it's, I don't know. Maybe I have undiagnosed mental issues.
No, but I think everyone does that. Like I feel like communicating as we get older with people, right? Like
Hmm.
it's tricky. And I think it's so easy to go on I for some reason as people we go on either end of like that spectrum with anything, right? Oh, I'm
Hmm.
so stupid, or oh, I'm the smartest person I know, or oh, it's my fault. Oh no, it's all their fault.
Hmm.
I don't get why we can't just as people find a fucking middle ground. And I think that comes with the assumption thing, right? Because it's like
Yeah.
instead of assuming, like how we just said, why not be like, hey, what did you mean by that? And that would solve everything. Or like,
True.
hey, like I took that kind of offensively. Like, how did you mean that? Or whatever. And
Hmm.
then, like, you literally pretty much clearly find out whether the problem was you or that person. Like, it's just very easy, but we don't do it.
Yeah.
And I don't get why we all are doing what's harder and worse for us.
Well, yeah. And like for me, like that's the thing. I think the whole making assumptions and taking things personally are very interchangeable for me. Like they're like
Right.
that is like my biggest thing, probably.
Wow. So, okay. I also, I don't know. I didn't even like put the agreements we were talking about in any particular order. I was like, oh, like here's just every other one.
Hmm.
I like how, ironically, the ones that we both struggle with were like the ones I had us talking about.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's
and I
true.
think like and he said too, like, which is so obvious, right? It sounds obvious, but like until you read it, you're like, huh. Because he was like, obviously, with clear communication and not making assumptions, every relationship you have will get better.
Yeah.
Which again, obvious, why we don't do it beats me.
Didn't
Because
know this was
again,
gonna turn into a therapy session.
I know, I'm like, ooh, we went from the last episode. So, side note for you guys listening, we're doing this as like a double recording, because we're like racking up while I'm on my honeymoon next week. And so this is like really just such wow.
A change of vibe for sure.
Yeah, it's such a change of vibe. But it's like, okay, so going back to that, if we assume everyone sees life the way that we do, like that's bad.
Hmm.
If we stop doing that and just ask questions or like, oh, what did you mean by that? Or like, can you explain it? Or, that's like a very obvious way to do it, but just having that in our general communication,
Yeah.
he was like, yeah, your whole life will improve. And I'm like, yeah, I could see that. Like, what, like even stupid stuff, like whether it's a domestic partnership or a friend or whatever. If I'm sitting here being like, oh, well, I assume Ryan knows it's garbage night and he didn't take it out because he's lazy. What if
Hmm.
he fucking forgot? Why am I
Yeah.
assuming that? Like
Yeah.
simple shit like that, where I could be like, "Oh, babe, it's garbage night." He'd be like, "Oh, I forgot. I'll go do it right now."
Yeah. I also
That would be it.
yeah, like bringing it back to like say for like the car situation, right? Like if somebody fucking cuts me off, I'm like I just assume that they're like the worst fucking person in the world and they don't know how to drive. But then I'm like, I don't know, maybe they just got called that like their mother's in the hospital and they're like trying to get there. You know what I mean? Like but
Well,
then I'm
that's what
like,
like
fuck you anyways, you know?
right. It's funny because I'm also a very angry driver, and when I first met Ryan, I would like be yelling, fucking giving people a finger, like all this
hmm
shit, right? And he would literally be like, "What if they had a bad day?" I was, I don't give a fuck about their bad
Ew.
day.
That
But
would
yeah,
piss me
no,
off more.
no, it does. But like, diz, whatever. It does. But at
Diz.
the same time, like, that's true. Like, I'm making the assumption, like, you're just an idiot. Maybe
hmm
you just, or like, there's times where I'm sure me and you cut people off
Yeah.
not knowing or whatever. And it's like, I wouldn't want them to assume that I'm an idiot. But then that goes back to don't take things personally. If you think I'm an idiot, don't really care.
Or being impeccable with your word.
Right.
You know, don't think you're an idiot. And then if people think you're an idiot, you won't care.
Because you don't take things personally.
Yep.
So like, these three definitely like go together.
hmm
Um, But then I feel like it also goes into the fourth one because the fourth one is just an overarching everything.
Well,
Um,
that one's like, it kind of reminds me of like the golden rule, you know, like treat others how
mm,
you'd want to be treated yourself kind of thing. I
and
feel
I guess
like,
like it's so interesting because even that rule, right? Which again, that's not like one of the four agreements, but it's a golden rule.
mhm,
I don't do that. Most people
no,
don't do that. Why don't we do that?
I don't
Like
know.
why is it so easy for us to be negative instead of positive?
But then that's also too the whole flip side of that. So like that whole golden rule kind of fucking annoys me because like there are literally some people out there who think and truly believe that they deserve the worst in life. So they're going to treat other people like shit. You know what I mean? So then it's like you're not following through with what the rules should be.
Right. Yeah, you kind of suck at that rule. Like you're following the rule, but it's not working.
Like there's too much left up to interpretation with that rule.
I see what you're saying.
Because not
Well, right.
everybody has the same morals and values and, you know.
Right. Which where I feel like that's a good point about that rule, but I feel like that being said, these rules I feel like are pretty they apply to everyone. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
that rule could be up for interpretation, but then even like if you follow these four agreements and someone treats you like shit because, they feel like they deserve shit, so they're gonna be shitty to everyone, don't take it personally.
Yeah.
They feel that about themselves. Okay. You'd think that you're treating me like shit because you also feel like shit, and that's not my problem.
Projection.
Right. So the last agreement, the fourth of the four agreements, is do your best always. Just do your fucking best. Um, and I feel like again that
Yawning.
like, so
Sorry.
I know it's like one of those things. Our brains are tired, thinking so hard. And so this inherently ties to the other three agreements, just because if you do your best always, you will feel good about yourself. Now, tying it to the other three agreements before he like branches off just what this means on its own. He's like, yeah, if you try your best to not take things personally, to be impeccable with your word, and to not make assumptions, like Hallie said in the beginning of the episode, if you do that for 2 days and then you fuck up and you're like, that person sucks, and you're just being mean or a dick or having negative thoughts or like, oh, I'm so stupid, whatever you mess up, don't be hard on yourself and be like, oh my God, I'm the worst.
hmm
Literally be like, okay, like, yeah, I realized I did that. I'm going to tomorrow start over and do those things again. And he was saying, like, even just being aware and being like, oh, I messed up, no biggie, I'll start over. I tried my best. Eventually, as you keep doing that, you'll all of a sudden be doing it for like months and be like, oh my God,
hmm
I'm just living my life differently.
And you'll just be doing it. You know, you won't be
I think
thinking
that's like
about
really
it
wonderful. Yeah.
and you won't be thinking of like doing it for like a certain outcome.
Well, and okay, so that goes into the next point he makes in this, which I think is also really awesome. So not only should you try your best for these four agreements, but he was like, if you try your best, say at your job, whatever, he was like, a lot of people try at their job or whatever because they want a reward. So like you said, like you're trying to attain something.
hmm
And his point with this is if we do our best in all things with no motive, not saying I want this reward or I want this paycheck or I want whatever, if you just take pride and are doing your best because you want to do your best, you'll just start enjoying all things. So if you do your best at your job, you'll be happy you're doing it and it won't be for a reward or whatever. Because he was saying if you're just doing it for the means to an end, then you get your paycheck. You feel like the paycheck isn't enough. You're miserable. You have the weekend. You're working for the weekend. Like,
hmm
and you're just not living a happy life. Whereas if every day you wake up and say, I'm gonna do my best. So I want to work out and take care of my body. Or some days if you're like sick and you're just not in the mood and you're like, I'm not gonna work out today, cool. That was your best today. And he also makes a point to say, like, your best is gonna change not only day to day, but like hour to hour, minute to
Yeah.
minute.
That's true. That was
So
like that kind of for me was like, oh, I feel like I hold myself to like really high standards. So like
same. Same.
so it's like, you know, that whole idea of like a mental health day. What? Like, no, I can't do that. I have to work. What? My mental health can just suffer. It's fine. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's one of those things. Like maybe like I just can't life today. Life is not lifing for me today.
Right. And
So
that's like
it's
your best for that day.
yeah.
And I think it's also an overarching theme, right? Again, being impeccable and like being kind to yourself. So if I wake up and my intention is to work out, or I work out most days, and this day I'm like, I don't want to. Okay, that's my best today, and that's genuinely my best. Okay, fine. Now, if I do that every single day and I don't like push myself or I don't, have a healthy lifestyle and I do that excuse every day, well, that's genuinely not me trying my best. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, now you're
But
just
yeah, you're
flaking
making
out.
excuses, right? But I feel like you also would know that. Like, there's times where I do that, for a few weeks and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to work out, whatever. But I feel it. Like, I know I'm not trying my best. I could motivate myself. I could do it. I could push myself. And like, I'm not being the best version of myself.
Yeah.
There's some days where I am the best version of myself, and that day might not include working out, but I did a bunch of other stuff and I feel really good. And I think this one is like probably the one that I'm not best at, but it's like I can tell when I'm trying my best or when I'm not. Like, I'm very aware. Like, I'm like, okay, like my best today is this and that's okay. Or hey, I'm being lazy and making excuses and I'm not being the best me that I can be.
Yeah.
And I think that one's more obvious.
I feel like you know these things. Like we all have an internal barometer. Like we know what the fuck is up, right? Unless you're like that fucking that far gone. But like I know for sure like, when I wake up and I'm like, yeah, energy not there today. Not going to happen.
Right.
Or like you're able to gauge. You're able to feel it out.
And that's why I think this one's probably the easiest, but where I think this one gets tricky is I think I kind of do this, and I think a lot of people do. Like, you can kind of gauge yourself, like you just said. I think applying this one to the other three agreements would be a challenge. And I think I'm interested to try to like delve into that. Like,
Hmm.
really try to like not be judgy or not be harsh on myself. Because again, same thing. Like, I find that I'm a very judgmental person, which I don't like about myself.
Mhm.
um like with friends, like just fucking around talking about people from high school, whatever. But again, that inherently ties into like my self-confidence issues, which turns into my defensiveness, which turns into taking things personally. Like,
Yeah.
it all relates. And so I'm really interested, if I really tried my best to adopt these other three agreements, I feel like I genuinely would be a better person,
You'd
which
be
like
golden.
I think I actually agree with the fact that like I'm like, yeah, no, this would probably change me significantly and make me happier. So why would I not do it?
Well, that's the fucking cake, right? That's what we're reading the book for.
Yeah, some books, like some self help books I have read and I've been like, okay, like maybe.
Mhm.
But I really do feel like this one, I'm like, no, I feel like I can like get behind this. Like, I feel like this makes sense, and I feel like it probably would be like, I believe him.
Mhm. Well, I actually sometimes do those with like self-help books like, you know, you read them and like a lot of the time like I'll try to read them when I'm in like a negative headspace.
Mm,
And I would consider myself a cynical person to begin with.
I would agree with you.
Thank you. So like I'll read them to get me out of a bad mood and then like I feel called out, but I'm like, okay, let's just keep reading. And so like the logical part of my brain is like, okay, I can appreciate this for what it is. And like,
Hmm.
yeah, going forward, maybe we can try to implement some of these things. But then I'm like, this is fucking corny. What even is the fucking point? You know what I mean?
Interesting. So I guess, okay, how did you feel about this book then?
No, like it's the same thing, right? Like I agree 100%. Like if we did these things, life would probably be a whole lot better. And then, something will happen. I'll probably leave my house. Someone will piss me off, and I'll be like right back to square one. You know,
So you feel like you resist like being told how to better yourself.
maybe I think also I have an authority issue, but that's something completely different.
You're like, so I have assumption, authority. Here's my things.
Like, don't tell me what I need, you know?
Which, yeah,
But
and it's
like in this case, like you know, sometimes you need like the cold slap to the face. Like,
yeah,
hello.
I just think it's interesting because as people, I think we really do like resist change. Why? Like again, like it's one of those things where it's like we would be happier. So what the fuck is wrong with us? Why are we doing again? We're choosing to do what's
Because
harder to be more unhappy.
yeah, but we resist change because we're comfortable.
When he says that, he literally is like, "You're comfortable being in hell." Great.
Yeah, because
That's fucking reassuring.
because you okay, so if you're like you're comfortable being in hell because you already know the confines of what hell entails. So like at that point you already have some type of coping mechanisms to get you through hell and to just exist, right? But the thought of like something better but the unknown that also encircles that, like you don't know what that, you know, contends with is very triggering to the human mind for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's
It's like
crazy.
psychologically like studied. Like people would
Isn't that
rather
crazy
sit in a
though?
shitty situation than like make a change.
For the better. And knowing it's better, not knowing what to expect with that better, but knowing it's better. And we're like,
Hmm.
no.
Yep.
And again, same thing, just like talk shit less to yourself and about others. Do your best. Like fucking simple things. And we're like, I'm a pass. That's crazy. And we're like, don't call me out, motherfucker. Like,
Yeah.
why are we like this?
Egos, I guess.
It's weird. It's weird
Self
of us.
identity. See, this is the problem with sentience. It's hard. It's hard being a
It
sentient
is, but it
being.
shouldn't be. Like, that's his point, too. It's like we make it hard and then complain that it's hard. Like, we can
Mhm.
just love ourselves and be happy.
Well, these are the powers of good and evil at play, right?
This
But
is,
the Buddhists would argue that there is no good or evil. I think it's the Buddhists. Well, I might be wrong. Actually, don't quote me. But there's some type of philosophy or train of thought that, you know, there's no good or bad. There just is.
there he is.
I think it's Buddhist. I'm not too sure, though. I'm like 95% sure.
That sounds like Buddhism.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I mean, it's like, yeah, and that's why there's all these, like, schools of theory and theories of thought and all these things, right? But it's just crazy that they have so many, like, schools of philosophy to pretty much just, like, get us to be happy when we're just making it so hard for ourselves.
Yeah. It's really
Do,
sad. There's
yeah, it is sad.
billions of
What
people
a
on this planet, and I would say probably majority are unhappy.
majority. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, I could be, like, that was my point too, with, like, certain ones of these agreements that, like, I struggle with. My perception and me having the issues I, like, kind of mentioned makes me unhappy when I could just be having a great night.
Hmm.
Like, hello? Are we okay?
But you're gonna want
So,
have to want a nice night. But if there's a little part of you that thinks that you deserve to have a bad night, you will cling to that. Because it's
well, I
always
want to
easier
have a
to
good
cling to
night.
the negative than the positive.
Yeah, well, that's fucked up. I'm done with that. I'm over it. I'm sick of that mindset.
And Jamie's gonna
Jambo is adopting the four agreements.
next episode, Jamie's coming back a whole new person.
Especially, yeah, I'm adopting these four agreements before I go lay my ass on a beach in Greece. I'm gonna be like, look at my beautiful life. I'm wonderful and everyone's wonderful and we're all love and light. And it's gonna be great. I'm gonna come back like I'm gonna come back enlightened.
Love that for you.
Yeah, let's check it out. Cause yeah, what the like, guys, fuck this. Let's be happy. Like, what are we doing? I'm slamming things. I'm pissed.
Damn. God damn.
Yeah. So, okay. So you feel like, so did you like the agreements? I know that you
Yeah.
resist change, but did you feel,
No, like overall, I thought it was a solid book. Like I'd give it 5 stars for sure.
oh, you're giving it 5 stars? I was going to ask
Yeah,
you
I
your
would.
rating.
Yeah, I would give it 5. I mean, the whole thing, like me saying like it's corny, it's just like when I get into my cynicism, then I'm just like, all right, whatever, bro. You know what I
Right.
mean? But like, you know, the part of me that's like, oh, you know, you there is joy in life. You know, is like this is nice.
Yeah, it's nice. I think I gave it 5 stars my first read. Then I put 4 stars because I feel like I'm trying to be more strict with my ratings. But I think I might
Mm.
go back to 5 stars again because I just feel like again, I really like that it was written very simply. Like you can
Yeah.
understand it. You could sit down and like you don't feel like he's talking down to you. Like I'm so enlightened. Like he legit is like we can all do it. We're all buddies, and I'm like that's nice. Um, And I also feel like just based on the deep thoughts that I've been having, I feel like it like really resonated with me. So I think I might go back again and give it 5 stars.
Love that.
And my closing thoughts for this book, I feel like I'm going to really try to do them.
Okay.
I am.
Try your best.
Right. I'm going to try my best to do them. Like I said, yeah, I think other self-help books I've read, sometimes they don't hit the same. And I'm like, that sounds wonderful, but it's almost like it seems too daunting of a task.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like these are also attainable. Like you can make small steps, and I feel like I could actually do them in small ways in my life and feel good. Whereas some other books, I'm like, that sounds like a lot, and I don't have the energy. Like this, I'm like, I could realistically probably just like make slight changes and actually do them.
Yeah.
So that's my issue. That's my beef with other self-help books, where my beef is not with this book. You know, they're telling me to do all these things, and I'm like, whoa. I'm like, you're overestimating how much I can handle.
Yeah. Everyone's
Please no.
starting point is different.
Right, and that's great. Maybe I'll do these 4 agreements, and then I'll read those books again, and I'll be like, oh, I got this, you know. But in the beginning, I'm like reading, I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, you want so much from me.
Take one step at a time.
Right,
There's
right.
no need to rush.
Yeah, no need to rush, everyone. I'm like big on like the slow summer vibe this year. Like, just want a nice slow.
I don't know what
Slow.
slow summer is. I don't have one of those.
You will.
That's also one of my problems. I don't know how to relax. So
Yeah, me either. I'll be sitting, like Ryan will get home and I'll be like, just start doing stuff. And he's like, can you just fucking sit? I'm like, nope.
nope.
So I'm trying to do it. I'm trying to sit more. But yeah, and that also probably comes, you know, not to be like deep again, but being constantly busy also comes with like the inability to sit with ourselves. You
True.
can't just sit because you're like, I can't fucking just be alone with my thoughts. No. So like, let's be alone
Scary
with our
place in
thoughts.
there.
Right. Gotta just be chilling. Yeah. So, well, as I just mentioned, um, to spark my revival of me, or what's it like my self change? I don't know. To spark my evolution.
Jamie's reformation.
Right. So I mentioned my honeymoon.
Jamie's
next week.
renaissance.
Right. That's what we're titling. My honeymoon's now titled Jamie's Renaissance. So just to let you guys know, to close off, we're not like 100% sure, but like I'm leaning toward this is probably what we're gonna do. I would think, just for both of our mental sanity. So again, we mentioned this episode, like we are double recording, which has been chaotic vibes, to say the least. But so the content you're hearing now, I'll be way. See you later. But then I get back on like a Saturday night. There's no fucking shot we're releasing that Sunday. Like there's just not. So after this episode, we're gonna skip a week. So July 28th, you will have no episode, friends. So go be a for agreement with yourself. Go do things. Go change your life. That's what we want. It's your homework. And then
Okay.
we'll give you homework while we're gone. And then we'll be back August 4th with a new episode.
Sick. See you there.
Yeah, so just so you guys know, again, that's what I think we're pretty heavily like, that's what we're going to do. And when we're back August 4th, we're going to be on theme and we're going to be reading The Unhoneymooners.
Oh my God.
Who's it by? Hold on, I want to just make sure. I mean, there's only one book titled that, obviously, but I
Isn't
do
there
want
like a second one too?
Not that I know of. I think that she's written multiple books, but they're not together, thank God.
I'm gonna want to. Mind. I'll just.
Yeah, I mean, you're not gonna like it.
I know I'm not.
So we're giving you more just like, so this is where I'm interested in you reading this, because it was by Christina Lauren. So The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren we're reading. We will be covering it August 4th after we skip July 28th. So I'm interested in hearing you talk about this because, again, like Colleen Hoover, you didn't like her writing, but there's still like some crazy plot things, you know, with romantic overtones for sure. These books are very much so like the romance is the whole plot, which you're not going to like that part, but will you like the better writing? So I'm like intrigued to see like what you're going to think of it.
Well, tune in August 4th to find out.
Yeah, I'm going to tune in. I'm curious as well. Yeah. I'm excited.
Yeah.
So
I'm not excited, but it's fine.
we left you. Well, then, like, once we hit, like, spooky season, Hallie's going to thrive.
Yeah, I think I'll be fine then. I'll come back alive.
Right? Revive yourself.
Little
It's like,
Frankenstein, maybe.
yeah, we'll be, like, just spooky wooky.
Yeah.
But we got to get through summer first, and it's, oh, Jesus, it's early still. So.
Yes.
Yay! Okay, well, so we hope you liked our little, I don't know, deep chit chat, something different.
Mm-hmm.
We've kind of wanted to give you guys a variety. So again, we did a thriller, then we did a romance, then we did a dark romance, then we did self help, then we'll do another romance, and then we're gonna do a memoir. So we're gonna give you guys just a bunch of stuff and let us know what you guys like the best. Whether it's deep talks, our reactions for fucked up books, I don't know. We've given you really a whole gamut. So
Mm-hmm.
whatever you like, we will do more of. And yeah, let us know.
Yeah.
We're excited just to be here with you all.
Honestly, like, the part of me that, like, hates reading these stupid fucking books, like, and when I say stupid fucking books, I mean Ugly Love by Colleen Hoover. I feel like I know myself, like, what I look for. Like, I like listening to people who just, like, shit on, like, what everybody else likes. You know what I mean?
So Hallie's like, noted, got it.
Like, I feel like that was, like, a good episode. Like, if I was not in this podcast, like, that'd be something that I would enjoy listening to. Like,
Right.
some chick just, like, fucking
Ripping it to shreds.
Yeah, and, like, also, so side note, when I posted, I don't know, the trailer or teaser or something like that on Instagram for Ugly Love, there's literally a hashtag, and it's called and it's what is it? Colleen Hoover, what is that when, like, you make fun of somebody's writing?
Slander?
Yes, Colleen Hoover slander. Like, that is, like, an actual
Oh
hashtag.
my god, that's hysterical.
So I used it.
Amazing. Of course you did. All right, amazing. Well, yeah, so I guess we'll see what you guys like and what we're vibing with. Now that we're finally, like, not doing a fucking super long series, we can kind of just throw a bunch of things at you guys and see what sticks and what you like.
Yep.
That's the plan. And we read all kinds of books, so might as well, you know.
Yep, exactly.
All right, pals. Well, we will see you not next week, but the week after.
Yep.
In August. Flying by.
Days are just going.
Just going. All right, friends. We will see you in August.
Okay, bye.
Bye.